I think the heart rate challenge was amazing. I think it was cute that they made them go in pairs because one, there's way too many people for them to sit outside for. Two, it helps those that are not confident in sort of walking out on their own. Because in the US version, unlike the Australian version, you have both boys and girls come out, just like in the UK, you have both girls and guys come out. In the Australian one, that's when you only have the guys come out. So it was nice that they came out in pairs and sort of had planned a little routine of what to do. That I really loved. And then in the situation with Huda and Shelly, I'm sorry, I like to err on the side of truth and not to be biased. If we look at Huda's situation, I've brought this up several times that I'm surprised that all the girls that she called out and treated badly when they first came and showed interest in Jeremiah have not said anything. And so for her to do that and then turn around and say that it was just a challenge, nah, I'm sorry, I have to stick with Shirley on this one. Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island USA Season 7, Episode 24. It's after the recoupling, the Casa people have gone that we're still single, and you have the rest of the islanders just milling around the villa. Sierra, Shirley, and Olandria go for a chat. And so they are trying to sort of comfort Olandria because this is something that nobody expected. The girls are asking Olandria, did you expect this? Did you see this coming? And she says no. It's like, girl, please don't be for real. Be for real. This man has shown you countless times when he was packing her in the bedroom with you there, when he was giving her his shirt to wear, when he was taking her for a walk to the dock, things that he didn't do for you, everything he was doing for her. You should have known that it was time. You should have read the nonverbals and seen that this man wasn't that into you. I agree with the girls that it's over, but then I also was side-eyeing Shirley when she said, whatever you want, I'm here for you. And it's like, be a true friend and tell her, girl, this man doesn't want you. It's time for you to move on. It's time for you to go and find your person. And I think the problem with Olandria is she has shut down every single person that has come her way because she's always said, Taylor, my cowboy, my cowboy, my cowboy. Now she doesn't know where to start because everybody has taken the cue and they've kept it stepping. Her only hope is probably to explore Elon or Chris and hope that one of their heads is turned. Otherwise, she's stuck. She'll have to wait for a bombshell. That's if a bombshell comes in. But I don't think Taylor's coming back because you have Taylor and Clark sitting right across them in her sort of line of vision. And it's like, could they not go anywhere else? Could they not go to Soul Ties? Could they not go even to the dock away from Olandria? Anyway, you have Olandria confess that she kissed Nick when they came back. Sierra said she's not bothered by it, but I think she's bothered. I think she's trying to be a good friend, or I think she's trying not to be intimidated because maybe Olandria is not Nick's type, so this is why she's okay with it, but I would think she has a problem with it. It might be she's non-confrontational and she doesn't want to say or do anything that will upset the temperature of the room. She already knows that Olandria is upset and she doesn't want to make things worse. That's the impression that I get. You have Clark, as I said, with Taylor. They're actually cuddled up like a couple, and it's like Taylor has shown this woman countless times. Look at the way he was sitting with Olandria and look at the way he's sitting with Clark. He really likes Clark romantically. He's told us there's no romantic spark with Olandria. He doesn't know how to start it. So the idea that we expected him to suddenly have developed that spark is ludicrous. It really is. He spoke about having to choose between his heart and his head. His heart was telling him that the bond that he had created with Clark in 4 days was way stronger than the connection he had with Olandria. With Olandria, he was more focused on what will everybody else think because I've been with her for a very long time. Will they look at me sideways? And he eventually decided to do what was in his best interest, which is this is the person he saw a romantic connection with. And it's like, why were you not honest with Olandria? You should have told her this. She should have been aware and she would have kept it stepping. You have Ace and Shirley sitting down for a conversation. Ace is sort of asking that, so where do things stand with Chris? Is it just you and me, or are you still exploring that? Shirley makes it seem like she's still exploring it. And it's like, I don't get it. The idea that she said to him, oh, you and Chris are exactly the same person. And it's like, what do you mean? What about them is the same? Their level of emotional intelligence should be totally different, because Ace has shown us that he's not yet there. And Chris seems to be more there. He seems very quiet and very laid back. Whereas Ace is in your face with it all the time and every time. And over time, that can be annoying and it can be exhausting. You have Amaya and Zach go for a chat. I really like Amaya and Zach. I think they're the cutest things ever. I think Zach sort of is the anchor that Amaya needed. Someone that will stabilize her and let her not sort of go overboard. Because even when she was freaking out about Taylor picking Clark, he kept trying to pacify her and calm her down and just say, no, just leave it. Just leave it. Just leave it. Things will work out in the end. Things will work out. Don't worry. And it's like, I hope Amaya doesn't eventually wear him thin. The fact that she's always wanting to kiss him is a bit too much. They spoke about his cat that went missing. And it was cute. It was just a cute dialogue, which I loved. You have Nick and Sierra go to the dock for a chat. The boys are up on the terrace. They're, the Casa boys, they were walking around. And so, you have Elon looking at it and just going, oh, God. So I was just a placeholder then. And it's like, yeah. Nick was honest. At least he told her every single thing that happened during his time in Casa. The fact that, he met Olandria, they got in the car, they then went on a date and were given the option to come back. He spoke about the case. And Sierra said she's not bothered. And I'm side-eyeing her because I'm thinking, what do you mean you're not bothered? Are you seriously not bothered? Or are you just saying it because you feel that's what he wants to hear? I have a feeling that she is just trying to hold on to it because she doesn't want to rock the boat, but she's going to be monitoring and watching. And the moment she's not happy, she's going to bring it up, and then it's going to have legs and it's going to explode. Am I the only one who's side-eyeing production when it comes to TJ and Iris? Because I don't quite get their connection. The fact that they said, with the people who were in Casa, there was no spark. I really didn't feel that thing that I feel when I'm around you. And it's like, we really haven't seen their chats. I know they did kiss on day one, but it didn't seem like they were that connected that they would make such a big deal and be so giddy and excited. Are they giddy and excited because they really missed one another? Or are they giddy and excited because they're playing it up for the cameras for us to believe that they were romantically invested? I don't get it. I really don't, because we didn't see much of it. They do look and make an okay couple. I think it's time for them to go home. They're boring. I'm sorry. They are boring. They need to go home. You have Andrina and Brian, they're having a conversation, and she reveals that because what happened is she was a bombshell that came in and then soon after went to Casa, so she didn't get an opportunity to explore with any of the other guys outside of Jeremiah. And I think had Jeremiah been in the villa, she would have stayed with Jeremiah. But the fact that there were some guys she wanted to chat with but didn't get an opportunity because they went to Casa, she reveals to Brian that she's open and she would like an opportunity to get to know the other guys just to make sure that he is her person. He as well reiterated that he is open to getting to know everybody else as well, and that appeared to not sit very well with her, but she puts a cutest smile on it and just pretended like she didn't notice, but you could tell she wasn't happy about that. She said, Pepe, she's got a crush on Pepe, so she wants to get to know him. And I was like, oh, okay. It's going to be interesting because Huda is another one who was going after Pepe. So I can't wait to see what happens with the Pepe situation, whether everybody's going to step back and leave him with Grayson, or whether there's going to be love triangles with people trying to pry him away from Grayson now that Hannah's gone home. You have Huda and Chris sitting by the fire pit. They're having a conversation about their connection. The fact that Huda says, on day one, she really liked him, but she didn't want to step on anyone's feet. This is why she sort of took a step back, but she's open to exploring that connection to see if there's anything there. It's sort of giving sort of Ace and Jeremiah vibes in the sense that Shelly has something that Huda wants, and so Huda's going to do everything to try and win it, the same way Ace really wanted what Jeremiah had, and so went out of his way to vote, him out. And I'm not saying that Huda's going to vote Shelly out, but it seems like she's more invested in him just because she saw him with somebody else, because otherwise on day one, she would have expressed her interest. She would have still been open to exploring the connection with him, not to leave it for just a couple of hours or a couple of days before they're returning to the villa. You have Austin and Jaden. They are in a speakeasy. They're having a conversation. There are another couple that I don't quite understand. You have Austin saying he's finally with someone he really likes. He's happy to go to bed. He wants to cuddle. He asks for a kiss. And it's like Austin played the Taylor situation. The only difference is Taylor was ballsy to pick the person that he wanted when that person walked in, whereas everybody else was just quiet and just waited, then bided their time and were not willing to speak up and say, no, actually, you're not the person that I want that person. Yes, Taylor didn't do that, but still, when the time came, he chose the person he really wanted. They took some cutesy photos in the photo booth. I thought that was cute, but hey, it is what it is. You have the girls and guys get ready for the night, and they're having conversations about their connections. Obviously, everybody's still taken aback by Taylor. I didn't like some of the comments that the girls were making with Clark there. I didn't like that. The fact that you had Huda sort of mimicking Taylor, I didn't like that, because that's not a good look. Why are you making her uncomfortable? It's not her fault that she came in and created a connection with somebody else. That's not her fault. So why are you more invested in this couple when this is not your couple? Why not go and focus on the person that you're with? You had Huda tell Shelly that, she thinks that Chris is an amazing guy. He said he's open to the idea that she has a child of her own. They had spoken about children and him saying he wants 5 children. So I don't know. I can't wait to see how that plays out, because the girls are not doing Olandria any favors by continuing to speak about Taylor. They need to try and sort of navigate her away from Taylor instead of reminding her of what should have been. Everybody gets ready for bed, and I'm surprised that everyone was able to fit in the bedroom. It was really tight squeeze, but hey, everyone was able to fit. You had Sierra and Nick knocking boots, and everyone was cuddled up. I think the only people not cuddled up were the people not in couples. In the morning, you have Maya Papaya busy doing cartwheels in the villa. And my question is, what was Zach doing in bed last night? What did he do to the baby? Why is she so excited? She's, jumping. She looks happy. She looks really happy, which is amazing, because this is the first time we've actually seen her happy. The guys bring breakfast. Nick goes out of his way to cover C in Sierra's pancakes, because he was told that that's what normally happens with Elon. And then Taylor was asked by Ace that, do you regret your decision? He said, no, I'm going to stand on it 10 toes deep. I'm happy with my decision, and I'm not backing down. So for him to bring breakfast for, Clark and be cuddling her and stuff, it's just a bit orcs. It's a bit orcs. And the girls don't know what to do, because they see him being intimate with somebody else. And I think this is not things that he was doing, or these are things that he was doing with Olandria, and nobody sort of understands how to process that. You have Shirley, Sierra, and Olandria sit down for a chat, and you have Sierra saying, she doesn't know how to sort of navigate the Elon situation, because she seems like she's in a very good space with Nick. It seems like she would want Nick to close things off, but Nick hasn't said that, and because he hasn't said that, she can't shut down Elon. And she can't reject, him doing kind gestures for her, because he also brought pancakes for her. And it's like, make up your mind. If you don't want Elon, let him know, so that he doesn't waste his time with you, so that he tries to explore the other girls in the villa. You have Olandria sitting across from you. She could possibly try and explore a connection there. Olandria, on her part, she's saying if it was in the real world, she would have shut it down immediately and she would have kept it stepping. But in the villa, I think the complication of the villa is they're in your face, your ex is in your face, and you're constantly seeing him with somebody else. So maybe that's why the emotions linger, and you don't have as much time to sort of go away and process what's happened and then come back. So I can't wait to see what happens there. Shirley is saying she's happy. She really likes the fact that she's in a good space with, but she also wants to get to explore Chris. And it's like, where can I stand to shout so that she can hear me? She needs to stay with Chris. Ace is playing the game. Ace wants the 50K. That's it. I don't think he's really that into Shirley as much as he makes out. I know there was rumors that they were dating prior to coming into the villa. I don't know, but I don't think he's as serious or is as emotionally intelligent as Chris, in my opinion. And then you have the 3 musketeers, or the 3 stooges, whatever you want to call them. They're busy talking about their connections. And Ace is saying, he doesn't care that Chris is in the villa. He is going to go hard for what he wants. They spoke to Taylor. Taylor is saying he's happy with his decision. He says it's sad that he's in a love triangle because Olandria is there, but he's not open to a love triangle. He's happy where he is. He wants to continue in his current connection and see how that grows. Nick is happy. Both he and Sierra say it lasted longer than the last time. He says it was 40 seconds. Last time he said it was 30 seconds. And it's like, these boys are fools. They are fools. You have Elon and Chris having a conversation, and Chris is saying, he really likes Shirley. He still wants to continue to get to know her and see how that can grow. Elon, on his part, is still going to continue to make moves on, Sierra until she shuts him down. And it's like, I wish people wouldn't waste each other's time, because the more time they waste, the less time someone has to sort of explore a connection with somebody else. You have Sierra sit down for a chat with Iris. So it eventually comes out that Olandria and Nick kissed. Sierra, I don't know whether she was just burying her head in the sand and didn't want to seriously analyze the situation, because she then brought it up that Olandria, tried exploring with Taylor. That didn't work out. She tried in Casa. It didn't work out. She tried with Jalen. It didn't work out. And then she tried with Nick. And then it came out that they kissed. Iris is correct to say, look at it analytically. Does this make sense to you that someone you've been living with for the past 3-4 weeks, someone you've told you've been physically intimate with, someone who saw you crying when you missed your partner, is happy to then go and try and kiss your partner? What if they'd had a spark? What would have happened then? She would have come back from Casa to find Nick now in a couple with Olandria permanently. So I get where she's coming from, and I think that analysis was enough to sort of get Sierra to start looking at it from a different point of view. And I have a feeling she's going to have a conversation, or she's going to have words with Nick after that. You have Shirley and Chris go to Soul Ties. Everyone was surprised that they went to Soul Ties. And they really seem cutesy. The interesting thing is Shirley is avoiding looking at Chris in the eyes, which tells me that she really must like him, because otherwise, why would she be uncomfortable looking at him? I think she's trying not to do anything that will jeopardize her coupling with Ace. And she is attracted to him, I think she said. And so if she looks him in the eyes, she's going to end up making out with him, and Ace might not take that very well. Ace is in the spa with Taylor and busy telling Taylor that, this lights a fire under him. He never loses. This lights a fire for him to sort of go harder. And it's like, it's not a competition. It's not a competition. For him to say, I've done every single thing and nothing seems right, or nothing seems to convince her, it doesn't make sense. And it's like, nah. You were not genuine, whereas Chris is coming across genuine. Maybe this is why Shirley is struggling to close things off with Chris. Maybe she's seeing a certain side that you have not presented with. And the problem is Chris is more emotionally intelligent as compared to Ace. And I think this is why they are where they are. So you have a conversation between Olandria and Andrina. And Andrina is saying, prior to going to Casa, she really liked Pepe, and he is her type on paper. She really is wanting to explore connection, but she's worried that Brian might feel some type of way. They have a conversation, a replay of her conversation with Brian, and so you have this situation whereby Andrina is saying that she really likes Pepe, and Pepe immediately walks past and she's sort of side-eyeing him, and it's like, oh my God, is it because you see a romantic connection growing, or is it because you've got this physical attraction and you're trying to act on it? I don't know, because Pepe didn't seem that keen on her when she walked in, maybe because he was with Hannah. So I don't know whether now that he's with Grace and he would be open to exploring a connection with her. Hopefully she doesn't, end up spoiling her good thing with Brian. You have Ace having a conversation with Shirley on the dock, and he is sort of saying to her, I am always up for competition, a good competition. I'm open to that. Shirley is saying, she's not closed off, so she's going to explore all connections. Shirley has been in love triangles since the day she walked in, and she will be in love triangles until the day she walks out. That's the impression that I get. I think she gets a kick out of guys fighting over her. Not in a bad way, but it is what it is, because you also have... I think Chris, of the two guys, is better for her. Maybe because I'm biased, but I think Chris would make a better connection for her as compared to her being with Ace. I think Taylor is trying to make a statement and is trying to prove to production and everybody that he's moved on from Olandria. Because for him to go and pull, Clark for a chat and physically pull her out for a chat and then sit there and be touching her and everything. We heard this man speak about, his family, well, the home that he wants, the decoration, the children, everything. And it's like, we didn't hear these conversations with Olandria. We didn't hear them unless they were not played on camera for us to see. He is smitten. According to Grayson, Clark is smitten as well. They really make a cute couple, if we're being honest. They really make a cute couple. So I love that for her, or I love it for the two of them. Hopefully Olandria gets the message and makes moves to explore somebody else. You have Ace be pulled for a chat. He was sitting with Shirley and he was pulled for a chat by Chris. And Chris is saying, I don't want this sort of us having to compete or to fight or whatever. I just want us to explore connections. Whoever wins, wins. That's it. There's not a competition with you. There's no beef here. And I'm happy that he said that, because Ace, I think, was looking for that. He was looking for a competition so that he could come out and say, I really worked hard to win her heart. I did this, that, and that. And I'm happy that the emotional intelligence in Chris said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to explore connections, and whoever Shelly picks, that's it. It's not a competition. It's not a dick swinging competition here. We're just trying to see who gets the better connection with her. That's like, wow, I love that. You then have Amaya speaking to Andrina, and Andrina is in a good mood. Amaya is in an amazing mood. I don't know what Zach did to her in bed, because she's really glowing and she's really excited. One would have expected her to come back to the villa and be miserable that Austin has moved on, but she doesn't seem bothered. She gets a message that reads, Islanders, get ready to raise everyone's heart rate in tonight's couples challenge. Hearts on fire. And it's like, oh, they're doing it as couples. I love it, because then it takes away the awkwardness. It does. So I can't wait to see what happens. You had Olandria practicing with Elon, because they are the two single people. Everybody else is in their couples. We didn't get to hear everybody else's conversations about their practice, but we definitely heard everything Olandria and Elon were talking about. And they spoke about possibly pulling the people that were stolen from them. And it's like, yes, they were stolen from you because those people don't want you. So you need to move on. You need to stop playing these silly games. You're not going to win any prizes. So with the challenge, what happened is people would come out dressed in outfits as a couple, unlike in previous seasons where they normally get one person to come out. This season, they had people come out in their couples, and then what would happen is they would either do a performance before, go around the circle, then come back with someone if they wanted to, or that would be the end of it. And it was quite insightful to see how people reacted to the performances. Yes, there were hurt feelings in the sense that some people felt others went overboard, which is to be accepted in such a situation. And so issues will need to be discussed. People will need to have their voices heard, and people will need to explain themselves, because one would expect there to be boundaries that are not to be crossed. But in Love Island, some people are so focused on the winning that they forget that we're dealing with other people's emotions. Anyway, first up was TJ and Iris. He was a doctor, she was a dog, and they went on, giving lap dances and kissing people. I was actually pleasantly surprised with their performance. I didn't expect them to go all out. I expected them to be a bit more reserved. So it took me quite a bit to sort of like, oh my God. And then they pulled Sierra and Nick. Obviously, Iris and Sierra are the closest of friends, so this makes sense. They kissed each other's partners. They seemed to have an amazing time. That was good. Next up, we had Amaya and Zach. She was a nurse, he was a workman, and they were really cutesy. What I like is they balance each other out, in the sense that when Amaya is sort of flailing or doing some of the really quirky things that might get on people's nerves, he sort of calms her down and settles her down. So this is the guy for her. This is the guy that she needed. And I hope they get to the finale. I hope even if they don't win, I hope they get to the finale, because they really complement one another. Their performance was, oh my God, I was pleasantly surprised. I really was pleasantly surprised. But they went all out, which was good. Next up was Andrina and Brian. He was an angel. She was a captain. She looked amazing. And they really tried their best. And this was her chance to kiss Pepe, and she went all out. Andrina went all out for Pepe, because we all heard her say she really likes Pepe. So it wasn't surprising that she did that. And I think doing it in twos was better, because there were way too many people. It would have taken forever. Next up was Jaden and Austin. He was a prisoner. She was the officer. I was pleasantly surprised with the performance. They did very well. Let us give them credit. Austin, we all know he's got no pancakes to shake, but he tried his best. With Amaya, she was saying, oh, I'm shaking my pancakes in front of you. So it was really the cutest. We had Shelly and Ace. He was a Flintstone. She was an angel. They tried. What I noticed with Shirley and Ace is Ace kissed every girl that he's wanted to kiss but hasn't been able to kiss, and this was his opportunity. So people like Iris, people like Huda, people like Andrina, he went all out to kiss them, because I think he's been wanting to kiss them, but he's been looking for an excuse to kiss them and not get himself in trouble. In the end, you had Shirley pulled Chris. I don't remember who Ace pulled, by the way. I don't quite remember. But he pulled somebody onto the floor as well. They pulled people as a couple, and they really made out, and they went to town. Next up, we had Chris and Huda. Chris and Huda. Chris and Huda, he was a chef, she was a maid. And I think Huda went too far. I'm going to say it, she went too far. Given the fact that we've seen how she reacted when Sierra walked in and kissed Jeremiah and she kicked off, when Amaya came in and kissed Jeremiah, she kicked off, how she sort of looked like she was going to bend backwards to tell Iris off when Iris was doing the kissing challenge and she told her to step away. So the idea that she would then overstep the line with Ace, knowing that he's in a couple with Shelly, I think that was a bit too far. That was a bit too far. People might have different opinions, but in my opinion, it was a bit too far, because she should have respected a friend enough to know that this is a boundary that we don't need to cross. I have a feeling she actually sat in Ace's face because of the way everybody looked at her. Because Shirley was making out with Chris, and then they finished. So when they stood up, she looked back and she kept looking, and she couldn't understand what Huda was doing. We all know Aces wanted Huda from day one, so this was his opportunity. He had an amazing time. He really did. Next up was Pepe and Grayson. She was I think he was the pirate. He was the devil. She was the pirate, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry. They tried their best. They really tried their best. The girls were excited to kiss Pepe, because I think people have wanted Pepe, but because he instantly connected with Hannah, people had taken a step back. So this was their opportunity to kiss. Next we had Sierra and Nick. She was a cowgirl. And it was... They went to town. They really did, because they took Iris first. They did a three-way Next up was Sierra and Nick. Nick and Sierra did their best, because everybody seemed to be kissing Sierra, and at one point Nick was already pissed. He looked upset. So it was surprising that when it was their turn, Nick, first of all, was busy on Olandria's foot. I have no idea what he was doing, because you even heard Sierra in a confession say, I can still taste Olandria's nail polish. They then took Iris. They went one from the top, one from the bottom, until they swapped over. And then they took Shirley. They went to town. They enjoyed themselves. Then we had Olandria and Elon. They were an air hostess and Cupid. I think this was sadly a misguided decision, because they went around everybody, and Olandria initially left Taylor alone. Then she went and she pulled Taylor, and you had Elon pull Sierra. You could tell that Clark wasn't happy, and you could also tell that Nick wasn't happy, because if someone has moved on from you, even if they're still entertaining you, it's a bit off for you to pull them for a kiss, especially with Olandria, given the way Taylor has behaved and the fact that he then didn't choose her when it was his turn. That's just a bit questionable. I wish someone would give her the proper advice. Next up with Clark and Taylor. She was a cheerleader. He was a football player. They were really cutesy. They really looked cute. So they did go around. Taylor didn't kiss everyone. He was trying to maintain his P's and Q's, because he didn't want to upset Clark. This tells you that he really likes her. The fact that he was taking her into consideration with his performance tells you something else. And then at the end, he kissed her and she was giddy. Even in his confessional, he said, I had to be mindful not to do anything to disrespect Clark. And it's like, well, somebody should have given the memo to his ex-partner, so that she knew that he's not going to do anything with her. Personally, I feel the challenge results were manipulated. I've said this before, I'll say this again. They need to have a big monitor that records people's heart rates as they're happening, so that we see who truly raised whose heart rate. Because I think some of it is exaggerated, and they're just sort of writing names just to provoke a conversation, or to try and provoke sort of a coupling from people, because they think, oh, that person raised my heart rate, or they want to provoke a drama. That's the impression that I get. Anyway, the results were Iris's heart rate was raised by Nick. Well, she was in the three-way kiss, so it makes sense. Amaya's heart rate was raised by Pepe. Adrina's heart rate was raised by Pepe. We all know she really likes him. Jaden was raised by Nick. Shirley was raised by Chris. I think production manipulated that one, or it could be. Huda's heart rate was raised by Elon. I don't know whether they're trying to sort of push her in that direction to see if she can try and explore a connection there and keep them as a couple. Grayson's heart rate was raised by Nick. Sierra's heart rate was raised by Elon. Olandria's heart rate was raised by Chris. And then Clark's heart rate was raised by Ace. I think Ace did a bit too much. At one point, you could see that Taylor wasn't happy. He was trying to stop Ace from kissing his partner. And then for the guys, TJ was raised by Grayson. Zach was raised by Sierra. Austin was raised by Amaya. Chris was raised by Shirley. Pepe was raised by Andrina. Nick was raised by Iris, Elon was raised by Sierra, Taylor was raised by Olandria, and Ace was raised by Huda. Ace and Huda, I understand, but Elon and Taylor, I think, were manipulated just because production want to say this is the person that's better for you, and they want to keep them in a love triangle. At the end of the day, the couple that won was Nick and Sierra. Anyone surprised? No. They really tried their best. After the challenge, I expected to see Nick address his issues with Elon, but I think production decided to sort of deal with the Huda and Shelly situation because they knew they could leave it on a cliffhanger and people would be tuned in to want to know what happened and people would take sides. In this situation, personally, I've always said, and I'll repeat, Huda, when Sierra, Amaya, who was the other one? Iris came in. She gave them a hard time. She called them names as though she knew them. I remember her calling who was it? Amaya out of her name and calling her the B word and everything. Oh, she doesn't care about anyone. She's here for drama. She's here for this, as though she knew them. So the audacity to do what she did, I am not buying it. She did that on purpose because she knew she would get a reaction. I think her beef is the fact that Shelly has two options and she has none. Because Chris at the moment is all in on Shirley. The only reason he'll stay with Huda, I believe, is because he knows she'll get him to the finale if production tells him to stay. But at the moment, it seems he's all in on Shirley. For her to grind and whatever else she did and then turn around and say it was just a challenge. You knew it was a challenge when you leaned backwards and were yelling at Iris to stop kissing Jeremiah. You knew it was a challenge when you were upset at Olandria for going into the booth during the challenge and kissing Jeremiah. You knew it was a challenge when you had a go at Amaya for kissing Jeremiah. So the idea that she wants to hide under the fact, guys, that it was a challenge, no. I feel like she did way more than we saw. But production, maybe it was TMI, it was not PG for people to watch, and so this is why they took it off, because even Ace himself was embarrassed. He was embarrassed. Ace, I think, has always had a crush on Huda, and so this he really loved, but at the same time, it was inappropriate given the fact that you have Huda saying she's best friends with Shirley. Shirley said, she's feeling some type of way. I did say it before that Shirley might have felt some type of way because her ability to choose who to bring back from Casa or who to couple up with after Casa was taken away from her by Huda when Huda said she wanted Chris. So Shirley had no choice either to couple up with Ace or go home. And so the idea that she would then do the same thing and go after Shirley's partner, I didn't like that. I felt it was insensitive. I felt it was inappropriate. And it was in poor taste, really. It was in poor taste. So I get the girl speaking to Huda didn't tell her the truth. They just said, oh no, you just need to speak to her and she'll understand. No, they should have told her the truth. You were disrespectful of someone you consider to be a friend. That was not necessary. You could have done better. The look on people like Taylor's face after that, the second-hand embarrassment on Clark's face was just... It's too much. It's too much. Shirley, I think, should have gone immediately and spoken to Huda, but at the same time, she might be upset and want a moment. The problem is, whatever Shirley does or says, Huda's going to come out the victim. We all remember when she was behaving, the way she was behaving and having a go at the guys, and Olandria told her that you can't be more upset at our guys than we are. We are the ones who need to be upset. And she then called Olandria a bully. So now she's done this. Every time she is the victim, everybody else is the villain. I don't get it. And hopefully someone will call her out. And then we'll see what happens then. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 22. Bye guys.